What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Power Rankings, guys. We are back for Season 6. Survivor Michigan is back, baby.
Wow. I'm excited.
I can't believe it. It's and already off to the races, 2 episodes in. It's been electric, so much good stuff. But I will also say, though, before we start, though, I do have something serious I want to say. Just to everybody out there, something serious. Tell Megan I said hi. That's all I wanted to say. Oh my God.
Paul, we have a lot to talk about, and I will say I'm not usually this emotion very often on these podcasts, but I am angry.
I know you are. We had a brief conversation about this today where Joe came at the man himself, right, fresh off a hot take. And I definitely, so episode 2, Joe, clearly you have some strong feelings about.
I do. And for those that are just listening to this and not watching it on YouTube, my name is not Joe today. It's actually Anti-Ian.
Joe is Anti-Ian.
Just leave it at that.
And I did, yes. So, and I did wait until now to tell you that I, at that moment, at that second tribal council, fully jumped off my couch. I was like, you go. Ian is my new favorite Survivor Michigan player from this season. So we are going to get into a very spirited, fun debate at the end of episode 2, because at this moment, now also, I am noted on the podcast as a Kevin defender. I am noted as someone who embraces these college Survivor villains because I think we need them. And the Vil Ian era is upon us. And I am the anti-Ian. I am Team Ian all the way. I love him. I can't wait to get into it. But before get there,
let me just say this. I think you might be shocked about some of my sentiments when we get to episode 2. But I will say, even after episode 1, I wrote down the same thing. And I was going to say, you can't spell villain without Ian.
Yep.
So I feel like we're on the same page there. And I feel like, we had 2 seasons of the Cavillan.
Yep.
That torch has to remain lit. And
as all torches do, yes.
Right. And he has passed it along to Ian. Now, going into the premiere, did I think that Ian was going to emerge as this villain? No. But he has been locked away in a dark room for like 7 years, editing all of the seasons of, of Michigan besides season 1. So like maybe he just has a lot of pent up anger and he's like ready to take it out on the game. So that's what we've seen in these last 2 episodes.
This is Ian's first time seeing sunlight in over 2 years. So a lot of that has to do with this, including the fact that he can't remember any of his friends when he walks into Survivor Michigan and doesn't know. So I also have to say, we were talking a little bit about the feel of this. So we're coming off of All Stars, which is this incredible season, dynamic, beautiful, these mini movies every week that are just so cool. And then we come back to season 6, and it's an hour-long premiere. And we
under an hour, I think.
I think it was 57. Right?
Yeah, it didn't even hit 60 minutes.
We get some time with everybody. We get a good challenge. We get a tribal council. I love it. It feels like we're going back to Borneo. It feels like we're back to Survivor Michigan season 1, which is one of my favorite seasons of anything ever. I love that the way we've come off this incredible All-Star season is to just go right back to basics, back to what we're good at. George is back in the editing seat. So we know
that's
what
awesome.
we're getting here. We know the quality is going to be good. It's just fun. And this cast also helps with that. These all feel like Survivor Michigan people. And by that, I mean, Joe, the other thing we do have to discuss.
Oh, no. What?
There are a lot of hot nerds on this cast. I think if the viewers out there are wondering what the Michigan difference is, the Michigan difference is that there's a lot of hot nerds here.
Hey, if we have to enter a hot nerd era, like, why not?
Fine.
I mean, I feel like this whole new generation, like the awkward people, the goofy people, the nerdy people, like I'm here for it. I think you brought up a good point. I feel like it feels like a really good start to a new generation, but we still get the nostalgia of like the George and the Katie and the Ian and the Noah to like keep us connected to the first generation.
Yes,
so it's a really
totally
good like
agree.
transitional season.
Yeah, we get some great
you know?
guest star appearances in episode 1
Mhm.
and episode 2. So it very much, it
Yeah.
feels like Survivor Michigan. It feels like we have loved about this show since season 1. I'm here for it.
Mhm.
Are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it. I took about 5 notes, so we're going to lean on Paul for his very extensive notes to run us through the episode, and I'll just provide my comment.
Very stream of consciousness. It's just basically what I was thinking while watching it.
Love it.
So this is going to be fun. So the very first note, talk about college Survivor throwback. Noah is a Quidditch player. And if nothing says college Survivor, like having a bunch of people who play Quidditch on the cast for some reason. So I love this.
That was cool.
Justin, I am the social chair of my acapella frat or acapella group. Love it.
Yeah.
No notes. A1.
Yeah, no.
T-Rex has never seen Survivor or Survivor Michigan. He has only seen French Survivor, which I believe is the season where the lady tried to poison her castmates.
Oh.
Was that French Survivor, I think?
My knowledge does not go beyond like Survivor or Australian Survivor or like Survivor SA and now Survivor UK, which is also a good season if anyone's watching that. But that some sort of story like that sounds familiar. So
yes, I believe
maybe.
It was Koh-Lanta, which is French Survivor. So look for T-Rex to potentially be poisoning his castmates.
Oh gosh.
Emily G, please introduce yourself. We got a little bit of foreshadowing that Emily G was maybe not going to be playing the most intense game through 2 weeks. Right here at the beginning mixer when she's just standing in the circle, not saying anything, and then just slowly drifting out of the circle. Like I'm like, Emily G, please. This note just says, Ian is my favorite human. No notes. He looks 14. I love
That's
this
hilarious.
whole Ian introduction segment.
I know it was good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy. What is he doing?
I don't know.
Why is he doing this?
I don't know.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's so bad. It's crossed the line back into perfection again. It's like almost camp. Like walking up and introducing himself to Matthew, be like, is this the Survivor Club?
Right, right.
Your name is in the credits, my dude. People are like, this charade is built like it's not even a paper tiger. It's like one step down from a paper. It's like a paper tiger lit on fire. This is not going to last more than a few days, and it doesn't. And it's hilarious. In the introduction, I don't even remember what this is in response to. I just wrote, okay, fine, Katie can win.
We love Katie. That's fine.
We love Katie. So good. She's so good here. I have a lot of notes on how good Katie is, but
Same.
That's the first one. I wrote already in the introduction. I wrote, I love Jay because he's like all my intrusive thoughts when I stand on the mat at a live game. He's just at one point he's just saying like, "Wow, there's all these people and it's crazy and I'm nervous and all this," and I'm like, I love you. There's just it's all external monologue. There's no internal monologue with this guy. Jay,
he's a character. I feel like he reminds me of somebody, but I can't put my finger on. And I've been thinking about it for 2 weeks, or not 2 weeks, like since the episode came out. But like, he reminds me of somebody. I don't know if it's somebody I knew, somebody I've seen on TV before, but like I can't place who it is.
I think maybe there's just something about Jay that feels familiar. In Survivor, like he's just kind of one of these. At the end of the episode, I think it's Abby when she's voting him out. It's just like, you're like a classic first boot, and it's so harsh, but it's also like, I mean,
poor Jay.
But poor Jay, I love this guy. I cannot wait. I hope Jay does an exit interview because I will be tuned in to Jay's exit interview. I love that dude. This is a really clever challenge, edited really well. I'm already into that. There was lots of elements. Blindfold puzzle is classic Survivor. It's classic live game, college Survivor. Do the lock, count the thing, throw the thing, do the word puzzle. I love it. I'm here for it.
I loved. I
Don't
think it was like George that was it. Katie was the caller, right? And she was just like,
Yes.
"Climb over the wall" or whatever. And he was like, "Okay, like where is the wall?"
I believe the
great.
quote is, "If I die, I die." And George is. The thing is, like, sometimes, like, these people who have been on the other, like, the prod side,
Mhm.
go on to the player side, and they don't really, like, it's awkward and it's, like, a little funky. These four, these four understood the assignment.
Yes,
They're
yeah,
like,
they
we're
did.
here to be good TV.
Mhm.
We're going to be great TV.
Yeah,
And they are.
right.
All four of them are great TV from moment one. That idol is fire.
Mhm.
Man, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wrote "Abandoned George" is just it's just a great bit. He's just electric television. He's
Yeah.
just kind of out on his own, whatever. He's totally by himself. And again, he's like self-producing. He's just like
Yeah.
talking to the camera. He's already into it. I love it.
Yeah.
Katie 8.
Mhm.
Blindfold is hard to do. It's harder to do in the dark.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
And
right.
especially with all those people out there, all the adrenaline of first challenge, and this is where kind of having that experience, not a player, but being around survivors, so you kind of know what to expect. So your nervousness is on a different level, where you
Mhm.
can take this leadership role and just eat. How bad, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad does Cooper need Ian to lose here?
10.
It's gotta be at least a 10, because Cooper is in the background of this challenge and Ian is on the last stage. And if Ian is able to somehow pull this out and rescue this, I think Cooper is gonna go just fully jump off a bridge, like
Yeah.
just fully not be able to handle it. There has to be like some kind of Cooper Ian last longer bet like that goes on here, because after all of the harassment, Ian's fantasy football team, all of this for years, there just has to be so much on the line here.
Right.
The difference maker of the week. How do we feel about this twist?
I actually haven't minded it the last 2 weeks. I think the people that have gotten it have made some interesting choices.
Yes, I agree.
But I don't mind it, honestly. I think it's something interesting. It's like different than just like, okay, like here's an idol clue, everybody, and then you just see everybody running off all the time. Like we got a little bit of that in episode 1, but I think this adds like a different element, and it's not like it hasn't been like too overpowering or too like much. So I'm good with it so far.
Yeah, CBS Survivor is doing a lot with these like mystery journeys and go on the thing. And I feel like this is really Survivor Michigan's version of that, even though this is happening kind of before the 40s are happening.
Right.
This is kind of, and I'm kind of here for it. I am very ready for one of these like really intense strategic players to get it.
Yes.
Because no disrespect to Ellie and Lindsay, who I especially want to talk about Lindsay in episode 2.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're both kind of playing a little bit more under the radar game, a little bit more quiet game. I really am looking forward to seeing one of these out front players be the difference maker and then go from there. But overall,
it's also interesting too, because they do it like right after the challenge and then have to go right back to everybody standing there.
Yeah.
Like I could see, and I don't know if it changes later in the season, but like I could see if it was different where like the person has to like go somewhere, they're there for a while. Maybe they can take more time to like think of like, okay, what am I really going to say? What am I really going to do?
Yeah.
But I also kind of like the element of like, you're there, you read it, you have like 1 or 2 things to do, and then you like have to go back to everybody, you know, and you probably only have a couple minutes to really figure out what you are trying to do with like the information you just got. So I kind of like that aspect of it too, where like you don't have a lot of time to think through like 19 different strategies.
Yeah. You got to just go, which I like.
Yeah.
Is it me, or does this feel a little like Matthew Israel?
Yeah. I feel like his fingerprints are on this.
Agreed. Ellie loves Oregon. I'm just cracking up. Such a great character moment.
That is really funny. Yeah.
She just loves Oregon. And you know what? Good for her. I've never been, but I've only heard that it's lovely.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Right.
Maybe by the end of the season we'll be convinced. Maybe depending if Ellie makes a deep run and we get a little Oregon moment every week, we'll just have to go.
Right.
There is this scene in the car with Lindsay, Jack, George, and Katie.
Love that group. The car alliances are very, like, if any future College Survivor people are listening to this and they're like about to play their season, that first night, make sure you're with a group that has to drive somewhere, or at least don't split off by yourself. Like be in a group, because the car alliances are always great.
Don't plan anything for after the challenge.
No,
and either like be the driver person, or don't drive. Take an Uber there or something.
Or even if you live close and you can
doesn't
walk,
matter.
just get in a car.
Pretend you live
This
somewhere
is the one
else.
time where we can say, like, get in the car.
Yes. We are not supporting public transpo.
No.
In the first episode of your College Survivor season, do it. Get in the car. If you have to pretend you live somewhere else, the Alexes did it for a whole season.
Right,
it doesn't matter. You can do it.
Yeah.
So I love this. My first note is that George and Katie are working Lindsay to get this idol clue. They are... I know the kids say mom and dad a lot, but they are mom and dad.
Yeah.
Like 100%. But also Jack. It's like that thing, like when you're in a group of people and you kind of start to like play a joke on somebody or rib somebody, and like there's a person there who you haven't explicitly been like, oh, by the way, we're gonna prank so and so, but they just automatically join in and they're in on it because they can just sense that something is going on. That's what Jack is doing here. He's sensing what George and Katie are doing, and he's joining in to continue to work her. Jack is kind of a baby icon. Like,
I agree.
Here, like, I'm kind of like, okay, like, yes, love it. We also on Sokka. Now, are you an Avatar: The Last Airbender person? Does this speak for you at all?
So it does. I actually binged Avatar and Legend of Korra maybe in 2021, like pandemic-y times. So yes, I do understand the reference. I think it was an interesting choice for a tribe name, but I do at least get it. So I don't feel like old and out of the loop like other times.
Good. I am old and out of the loop with this, so I was hoping that you weren't. So on Sokka, there is this group of kind of Grace's boys, of like Grace, Thajas, Ian, Noah, and Luke. That I really like. That, as we're going to see in episode 2, is like not going to be a real thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I really like this because I kind of like... I like that thing where it's like the reverse Charlie's Angels, where it's like the one girl and her alliance of boys. It's very like Shannon from Survivor Maryland coded, of like very like a girl like leading all the boys around. I love that thing. So I'm very into that. Down here I just wrote Luke Stand Still challenge. This man moves a lot, and I'm, as someone who moves a lot and rarely stands still, for me to notice it was a lot.
That's funny. I did not pick up on that.
There's just a bit with Ian and Katie that is just solid gold. Just solid gold. I cannot wait for these two to spend more time together. Just this Ian gambit of like, I'm not going to tell anyone. Did he not be like, hey, are you guys planning on saying you were a part of production? Like, hey, just a quick shout out before I put this extremely... And I was going to call it an elaborate scheme, but it's not, because he does not try very hard. He just like lies, but then like puts no work into actually... You know who would hate this is Alex Tarowski. Because even Alex Tarowski worked harder at hiding his friendship with Alex Dahl.
Yeah, this is a very, like...
You had to scroll at least more than 4 posts on Alex Tarowski's Facebook to find Alex Dahl. At least. I would like... Although I will say, I guess they were in a banner picture together. Or was that Cooper and Leia? I can't remember. Was it Cooper and Leia as the 7 dwarves? Or was it Alex and Alex in the banner together?
I'm going to say Cooper. That seems like a Cooper and Leia thing.
Yes, it was one of them. But anyhow, come on, Ian. Come on, man. I love these early confessionals where everyone is Mike from Pike. Shout out Mike from Pike, season 2 of Survivor Michigan, where everyone has to start their confessional being like, hello, I'm Paul. I'm coming to you from my bedroom in my apartment, and I am going to begin my confessional now. It's at the beginning of the season, it's everybody, and it makes me think of Mike every time.
That's so funny.
And I literally, every time I think of Mike, and I'm like, oh, I hope Mike is doing well. He was a good dude. Abby. Really in episode 1.
Love her.
Definitely. If we had recorded a just episode 1 Power Rankings, guys, Abby was going to be... We were going to be the Abby Rankings guys for a brief, beautiful moment.
100%.
I love her. I love her sass. I love her attitude. I love how hard she's playing.
Yeah.
I love this, like, not taking shit from anyone thing. I just, Abby is so good here in this premiere. She has an incredibly good premiere.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it is going to be maybe one of the fastest downfalls we've ever seen on any version of Survivor.
I'll be honest, like, yes, I agree, because I also 100% had her in my rankings.
Yes.
Had we only done an episode 1, and I have a broken heart next to her name on my notes. So
it's really, really bad. I really, really miss her. This game is gonna really, really miss her. I think.
I know. I don't think we've had somebody, like you were saying, like, have like that much of a downfall, but also have that much of an impact on, like, our fandom of the person in just 2 episodes.
It's very, like, Robbed Goddess kind of coded, like, very, like, we gone too soon.
Oh, 100%.
But it's not like one of these, like, dingussy dudes from Survivor who, like, we love because they're, like, a dope, and then they get voted out in the second episode on CBS Survivor.
Yeah,
she was amazing. Like, so good.
Yeah, she better come back in a future season. That's all I'm saying.
We need more Abby. 100%. I agree. At one point, Jay just says, "If it fits, it ships." And I just wrote, "Please don't vote him off." At that point, I was pretty sure they were going to. But I was like, "Please don't."
Oh my gosh!
It's just, yeah, we could definitely do, like, a Guatemala thing next season and just bring back Jay and Abby as the captains of the tribe, and I would be happier than anything.
Oh, I hope they do that.
Let's do it. I would feel bad for the tribe that got Jay as opposed to the tribe that got Abby, because it would be sort of like, it's not even Stephanie and Bobby John balance. That's, like, really off balance, but still. Everyone loves Luke? ? In episode 1, these people seem to love Luke and be all about Luke, which I think is good for him. Grace and Noah also have this thing that I really, really like for them.
Yeah, I do too.
That I think ends up paying dividends big time in episode 2, which is really good on Noah.
I know.
Noah is really, really good at this game.
I know.
I think we are really, like, I think it's one of those things where some people are just naturally adept at Survivor, and the things that make you a good Survivor, they're just naturally adept at. And looking at what Noah does, especially in this first episode, but also in the second episode, I think you're seeing somebody who is just kind of built for this in a lot of ways. I'm very high on Noah through 2 episodes.
Yeah, I was going to say we could probably name one of the episodes, like, I was going to call it the Bailey's boyfriend ranking guys. Because, like, we have to keep Bailey's name in it, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, and it's I think he's interesting too, because, like, I feel like he's kind of, like, unassumingly good. Yeah. Which is kind of interesting to watch, where, like, he kind of just seems like, okay, I'm just, like, here doing my thing, but he's like actually really
the most dangerous thing you can be, because he's not quite Dylan, like, he's not quite that, like, aloof or kind of out of it, but also, like, he doesn't read like Sam and Jack, like, he doesn't read like Cooper, like, he definitely is more laid back than that,
right?
But, like, he's in a really, really sweet spot personality wise and with this cast. My first Power Rankings guy question of the season, is Ian still mad about the lockbox in 2023? Because he's definitely still mad about it a couple days later when he does this monologue.
I feel like knowing what we know, probably yes.
Probably yes. I would say there is this moment where Ian is so good. So he's in the Cooper spot in the kitchen, like, eating, like, all those All-Stars from Cooper Confessional, and he is just doing, like, the Sheehan thing, where he's just going through all of the players and being like, what are they doing? Yeah. Why are they like this? And I really, truly, I love these new players. I want to make sure that we're spotlighting a lot of these new players, because I think they're great. And I think there's a lot of names that we haven't even really touched on that much who are great. Mason is somebody who I think is great. I think Anne has a fantastic episode too. All of these. It's just very hard not to talk a lot about Ian.
I know. He's just been the centerpiece of 2 episodes so far.
And it doesn't feel forced. Like, it feels like he is just the centerpiece of these episodes.
Right.
At Tribal Council, he does look like he wants to die, though. Like, he's just sitting there in the middle, and it's just like he's like in the Alice from the Brady Bunch spot, like in the middle, and he's just like, oh my god, so good. I miss Jay already. And then at the end of my episode 1 notes, I wrote, "This was a perfect hour," and I stand by that now.
Yeah, I agree.
I love Survivor when it's just Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to know these people. I want to
Yeah.
have some fun. I want a good challenge. I want strategy. I want a little bit of intrigue at Tribal Council. Maybe we could have used a little more, but we're good. I have nothing bad to say about this first hour. I think it was genuinely a blueprint. If you were starting your own Survivor at your university
Mm-hmm.
and you wanted to know how to edit, and maybe you're not somebody with a ton of film background, or maybe you are, but you haven't done like any kind of like reality TV work or anything like that, and you're like, how do I put together an episode that makes sense? As much as we love All Stars, it's too ambitious. Like, a regular person couldn't make All Stars.
Right.
It would take an Ian to make All Stars.
Yes.
But you could watch this hour of television and model your survival after this hour of television, and it would be really good. And I think like my shout out to other content creators, people in the LRG world, people in the College Survivor world, people in any kind of up and coming reality world, is watch this episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's 20 people. We don't get a moment with everybody, but we do get some time with a lot of these people, enough to really establish and move forward into episode 2. And I love it. I'm so into this first episode.
Same. It was very refreshing. It was nice that it was under an hour, because like All Stars is what it is, and like we enjoyed those like very long episodes, but like this was kind of like refreshing coming off of that and be like, oh, like that was like almost like a normal, you know, TV show length without the commercials, thankfully. And like, yeah, I think we got a little bit of almost everybody. Like, it was a really good start to the season and very just like refreshing. And like I said before, like a good start to this like new generation.
Yeah, these new Survivor, these season, like the season 40, we're in season 44 Survivor or season 45? 45 of Survivor. These like quote unquote 90-minute episodes are actually about like 64 to 65 minutes without commercials. And this was 57 without commercials, and it hit exactly like they do.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. The length is good. I love it. So I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So we're heading into episode 2, and we start episode 2 with Abby talking about how she wants to work with people she'd be friends with in real life, which I think is a really interesting way to approach Survivor as a game, because there's 2 schools of thought, right? That kind of birds of a feather mentality that exists, and then there's also this kind of Survivor, and College Survivor also allows us to explore different people, maybe people we wouldn't have been friends with, people we wouldn't have met in other ways. What do you think?
It's interesting. I feel like you can, I feel like there's 2 sides of it. I mean, you and I have played a couple live games, so it's like I'm trying to think back to situations like that where like sometimes it is just like the vibe of someone. If you really get along with them, like it's easier to work with them than maybe someone who you don't vibe with as much. Or, you know, maybe like you're more of like a calm player, and if someone's like super chaotic, you don't really want to work with them for that reason. So I think it probably definitely like bleeds into the game, and I think at least has for me in any like online or live games that I've played. But if you, I mean, this is only episode 2, so if you're going into the game with that being sort of like your main like mantra, I think it is a little bit short-sighted, because like it's so early in the game. Like, you can't isolate yourself to just people who you think you'd be friends with outside of, because A, that's not going to be everyone. And then if you isolate yourself from some people, that could get you, you know, that's not helpful in your game moving forward. So I feel like you have to like find a balance there where like make sure you're in a good, strong group in the beginning, but you also can't like isolate yourself from people who you might not like be friends with outside of this, because it's not really the nature of the game fully.
I totally agree. I think it's a tough line to draw sometimes, because you have to avoid and shout out to them, this is not a dig on them, but you do have to avoid like the Cassie and Chloe thing, where like you find somebody that you really connect with in that way, but it sort of becomes this like, we're the besties and everyone else is on the outside. Cassie and Chloe, by the way, great members of production, valued members of the Survivor Michigan community. We love them.
That was a good callback.
But for them, it did hinder their game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember, they were having that conversation, or at least I think it was Cassie, or no, it was Chloe that was having that conversation about like, maybe I should distance myself, so on and so forth. So you have to try and find that line. And I think we do see it with Abby and Stephanie a little bit, where they do immediately have this closeness and immediately have this bond.
Mm-hmm.
But they do good by bringing in Luke, and Luke is right in there with them, which I really liked for them.
Yeah, I did like that trio.
Yeah. Ian, this note just says, Ian, 4 posts down. No. When she is on his Facebook and she goes, you have to scroll 1, 2, 3, 4 posts down, and it's Survivor Michigan, I'm dead.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Deceased. So funny. Such a good bit. Such a great moment. I love it.
I mean, he would have had to have scrubbed a lot of stuff from like all of his social media. It would have been impossible.
How?
So, I think to your point before when we were talking about episode 1, like, okay, maybe lying is a little bit too much of a stretch, but like, you know, I think he was probably just like, whatever, I can't hide from this. So I'm just going to go in and like not really care about it.
You know, my Nana always says, if you don't lie, then you don't have to remember any stories. And it was
smart.
It was what I was thinking with watching Ian this episode of like, wouldn't it have just been easier just to lean in? Emily is ready to play. She is only 1 episode late. But she's like, no, I'm here. I'm gonna play. And okay, good for Emily. I think like this.
Yeah, I think I was worried that she was going to be someone that like we just never see ever.
Yeah.
So I think at least her getting the 2 votes from the last the first tribal like kind of woke her up a little bit, which is kind of nice to see. So
yeah, this is not an AJ scenario where she's not just kind of out on playing Survivor already.
Right.
She's in it. Some people just take more time to acclimate. Like Survivor is a weird game, and College Survivor is a weird game. And there's no other club that you join where you're forced to immediately throw yourself into it 100%, or you're not a part of the club anymore.
Right.
This is the only club where those are the weird rules. So, like, I don't fault Emily. I'm more encouraging her. Go, Emily, go. And by the end of this episode, you know what? She is in the mix.
Yeah. Yes.
So, Ellie sends her love note, which, by the way, that little love Hallmark card thing was so funny. Such a good bit.
I did like that.
She sends it to Abby. Yes or no?
So because I was such an Abby fan, I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, it's an unsuspecting pair. I don't know. I mean, we said before, like, Abby, like, she was doing well in episode 1 and for most of 2, I feel like. I liked it. I thought it was kind of like unassuming, and I think what else was I gonna say about that? Yeah, and obviously like a half of an advantage in Abby's hands is good with me. And I was like, well, she's definitely now it was funny because I mean we'll obviously get to it, but I was like, I felt like the odds of both of them being in final 10 was pretty low. But, and I'm sorry to say this about Ellie, but I felt like she would be one that would be out first.
Yeah.
Between the 2 of them, if we were lining the 2 of them up. But I thought it was like a cool way to like, I thought it was a good choice of who was over there personally.
Yeah, you'd have no reason to believe Abby would not be in the game at the final 10. Because at that point, if you're Ellie, it's not really about picking an alliance. You're just picking someone you think is going to be in at the final 10. And I think she does a great job of that. I think it's very smart. Yeah. And then build from there. So absolutely, I think it was the right choice. Obviously, hindsight being 2020. I bet she wishes she went in a different direction, but there's no possible way for her to foresee the end of this episode.
Right.
So it's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting to work, Taylor, with only 1 vowel. She doesn't need anything between that L and that R.
I like that.
Taylor. I love it. Definitely somebody who really showed up in this episode.
Yes. Yeah.
She meets with Katie, and she meets with Mason, who I also really like, by the way. We didn't get a lot of Mason in either episode, but that I liked.
Yeah.
So she's meeting with Katie, and she's meeting with Mason, and she's meeting with Jack, and she's meeting with George, and she's spending 2 hours with each of these people. And you know what she does? I think you're going to get this Survivor Michigan reference. she buys Jack some food.
Ooh.
And if you'll remember back to season 2 of Survivor Michigan, a very infamous ice cream date with the winner of Survivor Michigan season 2, Miss Mallory.
Oh.
I really think that there's something like it felt very Mallory coded to me.
Yeah.
Of
Oh,
like
what a good throwback.
I'm meeting with these people. We're
Mhm.
talking about our real life interests,
Yeah.
talking about actual stuff, getting to know each other. I'm buying Jack food, and I'm like, this is straight. This is somebody who just finished season 2, saw Mallory win,
Mm.
and
Oh, that's such a
actually
good
took
point.
something away from it.
Yeah.
So I like yes to this, Taylor.
Mhm.
I love
Yeah.
when people are proactive, when
Mhm.
they seem to have a strategy and they step forward, and that's what Taylor is doing here, and I'm all about it.
Yeah. Same.
Katie is so good. Katie
Agreed. She had a really great episode here. Even with, I think she was like gone for a part of it, or she was
Yes.
busy or something, and like she's doing the opposite of Ian. She's like leaning into the production thing. She's like, I'm just gonna like tell everybody. Now, obviously, the George thing is a separate thing that she's kind of playing down, which makes sense. But
Mhm.
I like that she's kind of like, I feel like she's also the type of person who like it's genuine. Like she's like,
Yes, I
yes, like I
totally
was
agree.
on production, like I am friends with a lot of the people, like, but I'm here to play. Like it doesn't really give you that much of a like advantage, really.
Yeah.
So, and I think it like came across pretty well to the people that she talked to.
Totally agree. I called Katie and Ian Katie and George mom and dad earlier, but Katie is really more doing like the big sister thing, like the older
Mm,
sister,
yeah.
like the I'm an upperclassman, like in the first episode, she's telling Lindsay, like, go write your paper, honey. Like, it's good for you. Like, she's just really doing that thing. And I think,
Mhm.
especially like, when you're an underclassman in college, and especially at a place like Michigan, I mean, you went to a big school, so you know, like, it can be very overwhelming and very
Oh, for
scary. And so, if
sure.
you have somebody like that who is just there kind of doing, and this is a little of the Dale playbook as well,
Mhm.
right? The come over to my house, have a nice meal is the Dale playbook, and the Katie playbook is kind of the let's hang out, like come hang out. Maybe you'll get to meet Leia if you hang out with me enough,
Mhm.
which I mean, sold.
Yeah.
I'm there anytime. Um, hello, Anne, in this
Yeah.
episode. Also, we get to meet Anne. I wrote Pixar LOL, and I do not know what that is about. Pixar LOL.
It was the drawings that she did of everybody.
That's what they are. Thank you. And then T-Rex is a T-Rex, which
Yes.
is
I thought it was I loved that bit. I thought it was
so
perfect.
good. Shout out Sarah Gallagher
Mhm.
and the Magnets. This is the evolution of that. I love
Yeah.
that. So at one point, this was gonna be my power rankings guy question for the second episode, but it's kind of
Okay.
hasn't answered. So I said, who did? Because Justin said he consulted with some former Survivor Michigan players. That's what he
Oh.
says in this confessional. And so my
Mhm.
question was going to be, who did Jackson or who did Justin consult? And then he said, so I decided to throw a big party, and I was like, oh, Dale. And then he was like, I was hoping some people wouldn't come so they would be excluded. And I was like, oh, Jackson, you consulted Dale and Jackson. Okay, yeah, I know who you consulted now. I don't need to ask anymore.
That's funny.
Because throwing a party and then hoping some people are excluded, that is our 2 season 4 boys all over it.
Yeah. And he did such a great job with it. I loved that like montage. The music was great. Like it kind of just like brought me like not that I was a big partier in college, but it kind of brought me back to that time. And like again, I think I say this every season. I wish we had College Survivor when I was in college. Like
Right?
I think it would have been like life changing, honestly. But like we were in college like a couple years before all this started, so
Yeah.
we were a little bit behind the times there. But I don't know, just like seeing George on the floor, like half tired and drunk, I was like, I've definitely
Yeah.
been there in a past life. So it was just like a good time, and like especially this early in the season, like that will something like that will really bond people.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was I loved
It's
it.
it's a great play from Justin.
Yeah.
So good from Justin. So good from everybody here. This is where Katie is doing the like, yeah, I was on production, like I'm friends with these people, like, but it's also kind of in the cool kid kind of way. Like
Mhm.
like I know like Cooper and like I know some of these people that you may have seen on your television screens. And like it's just Katie is so good. She's
Yeah.
just great. I'm so pro Katie.
Mhm.
Ellie and T Rex are the 2 that are out of town, and I'm very like, eek, like that is not good for
I
them because I already feel
know.
like they were kind of like not really in the center of what was going on this tribe anyway, and it's kind of
Yeah,
now we have this
I
moment, and it's
know.
like, we got to see George get drunk, and I'm like, damn, I'm so jealous. I wish I was there. And so,
Mhm.
and also on the note of Katie being great, I want to know more about Rhythm Tap Ensemble. I wrote this
Yes.
note, and then it did look like in the preview for next episode,
I
we
was,
do get a little bit of Rhythm Tap
yeah,
Ensemble.
I'm
So I'm
excited to
like,
see that.
I need to know more about this. I
Mhm.
am very excited. I do like one thing I really love about this challenge is that it's played in the traditional format of first person to 12 wins. Like we see so many great games played throughout history. First to 12.
Paul, I took one note the entire episode. I said, who the F made it out of 12? First of all, I don't know if they announced it in the beginning. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, first to 5.
They did say it because that was what I took the note was first to
Okay, so
12.
I
I was
missed
like,
that. So I'm
12.
watching it thinking, okay, like first to 5. Then it gets like tied like 5 to 5. I was like, okay, like it's obviously out of 7 then. Then
Yeah.
they get to 7. I'm like, okay, this is kind of like a long challenge, but like it's got to be out of 9. Then we get to 9, and I think one tribe got to 9, and I was like, okay, like weird, but they picked 10. It's an even number.
Yeah, fine,
Like, so
whatever.
one of the tribes is at 9, and I'm like waiting for Brady to say game point for Obsidian or whoever, and they go to 10, and then they go to. I was like, who? Why? Who?
Are we here?
It
Is this
was
like a
like
liminal space that we now live in? Is this Red Solo Cup challenge?
out of 12. Was
Is
there
this a
like
spinoff?
who multiplied the original number by another number to get that? It was just too long. And I do have another. Oh no, you go first.
No, please go ahead. I want to hear your other note.
I was gonna say I have a hot take.
Go ahead.
We need to normalize the throwing up of the cup strategy, like taking that out of the rules.
Yeah,
Personally,
I agree.
like we've seen it enough. Once one person does it, it's like it then becomes a different challenge of like who's going to do that higher. Like, so
yeah,
I don't know if anyone's listening for a future season, but like take that out of the rules.
Change your rules.
It's been done. It's been overdone.
Yes.
That's my hot take. One of my hot takes of this episode. I'm just kind of over that. And no double-digit rounds. Ended at 5, ended at 7. If you want to stretch it to 9, I don't know why you would, but go ahead. 12? No.
12? No. We are rarely critical because we love Survivor Michigan so much. But this is the one we actually are. This is the one thing because we don't usually text much about the episode because we want it to feel fresh when we're on camera podcasting. This is the one of the two things that we texted about today was what is going on. Who decided first to 12?
Yeah.
It's oh my gosh.
I think it's also a rare treat for the audience that like we don't typically watch the episode and then podcast like a couple hours after.
Yes.
So you're getting like more emotion probably, especially from me than and we will get more when we get into the episode than like
very fresh.
Probably people have seen. So I think I wanted to also add that disclaimer as well.
I also wrote Ian winning is so good. He wins his round because I think sometimes when you're the guy who everybody sees as like sneaky or shady, I think the best thing to do, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I think the best thing you can do is, and I officially want to call this the Austin Pace strategy, is where you turn into the tribe mascot.
Yeah.
And you're just like the little bean everyone is rooting for. And I think Austin is he's the epitome of that, of taking like that kind of maybe I'm on the outs, maybe I'm being seen as too strategic, and turning it into the no, I'm just the everybody's favorite guy.
Yeah.
And I like this for Ian. It doesn't happen for him. Like he can't really fully grasp that, but I think there is a moment here where he does this.
Yeah.
I also wrote, speaking of things Ian will say later in the episode, I also wrote that Luke is 30 feet tall and it does not help him with it. Why? Take the paddle. Just do this.
Yeah. I mean, we're not tall people, so we can't ever test that. I mean, maybe it's harder to balance or like...
I guess, maybe.
So maybe that?
Or just hold it like out at a diagonal or just further away. Like, I don't know. Luke did not have a great challenge here.
No.
And I like Luke. And yeah, it was not good.
No.
It's not good at all. Having AJ and Bailey here is
That
just
was so
so
nice
good.
to see. I know.
I
Bailey
love
was on
both of them
top
so
of the
much.
like photo finishes. I love that she
Bailey,
was the final like decision on all of it. I was like, of course.
Bailey as the very serious referee is the first NPC of the season as referee Bailey,
Yeah.
and it's also one of the things where it's like, how do I love Bailey more? It's like every time, you're like, how is Bailey gonna get better? And then on a season she's not even playing, she is this very stern referee. Like we have to go to Paramus, New Jersey, or wherever the NFL has their like headquarters where they go for like the challenge reviews. And it's like instead of like being like a like 30 screens and like computers, it's just Bailey watching somebody's cell phone.
So good.
Bailey rankings guys forever.
Yeah.
Lindsay is the difference maker for this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually eventually really do like what Lindsay does this week, but it's not what she does here at the challenge at all.
Right.
She has these two clues, and she just kind of like walks up and like she gives it to T-Rex, and it's never really clear whether she like intended to do that or whether he was just the first person she saw.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that, and I don't think we ever got a confessional from her about why she chose him, right? As far as I can remember.
No, like
yeah, that was
I'm
odd.
like really, is she's just doing this? Like she's just
Yeah.
like that's what's happening. And then she gives the clue to Noah, which is just
Of course.
we get another great Ian monologue later where he's just like, what is she doing? Why is she doing this? This angry Ian character is so good for me. Like I'm so tracking with this angry Ian character in Confessional. I love him so much all the time. I also think that there's like I do want to point out that there's like a couple different Jack moments here that we get. Jack is really doing great, and of course it ends with this Jack, Katie, and Leia meet up. And this is where Katie is like leveraging her cool kid friends, where she's like, yeah, like I told Jack about like me and George, and he was like a little bit like whatever. And so like to make up for it, I was like, come to the bar with us and you'll get to meet Leia. And like all is forgiven.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I am into that. And also, going back to our last episode, Leia loves Survivor.
Right.
Leia loves Survivor. And it's true. I would love to hear her say it again. Leia loves Survivor. She cannot get enough of this.
Right.
Leia, wherever she goes. I like to think that Leia is somewhere like listening to Rob Has a Podcast right now and like writing blogs or like she's on Reddit under a pseudonym or something. Anyhow. Okay, I also want to talk about this. So this, I think, might be the first or the second time that Keep Your Torch Lit is explicitly mentioned on Survivor Michigan.
Ooh.
But because we are like, by this point, we would be finishing season 2 going into season 3. We're in the power rankings guys era.
Right. Was season 2 when we were submitting the ratings?
Season 2, we were submitting written ratings.
Okay.
And remember we talked about in All-Stars where we were very worried we got Nick voted off.
Yes.
But now we have to be just about approaching the first ever live Power Rankings Guys podcast.
Wow.
So we are now, like, theoretically,
this
like,
is
if
so
you're
cool.
somebody who, and I can't remember who it was that said they were a huge college Survivor fan. Maybe it was Taylor, but I can't remember who it was. We are now in the era where Survivor Michigan players could be listening to our podcast about Survivor Michigan.
That is such a mind F. Like, that's crazy.
We are in the Power Rankings Guys era.
Do you think we would ever get a shout out like from the past?
I'm trying to think if we ever said anything really great or like really profound on the podcast. I mean, I'm assuming those first couple episodes are good. I have not gone back and listened to them in a very, very long time.
That would be such a funny and crazy surprise if like someone in a confessional is like, oh, I hope I get like a good power ranking when, you know what I mean? Like something Paul and I would, fall off of our couches.
We'll
Trust me.
simply die. We will simply die. And
But-
then that person will become the new icon. Like
Yes,
it's
we have
like
to
no
cross
one will ever
Bailey's
take
name out.
Bailey's place.
I
But
know.
if somebody does that, they will ascend
Yeah.
to the level. Yes.
But that is crazy to think about. Like, it's such a like. I love time travel, so like,
yes.
this is in that realm.
It
Personally
is.
speaking,
And then like now we're thinking about like Roger and Sophia have like played season 8 and 9. So they were like definitely listening to Keep Your Torch Lit because they're now on Keep Your Torch Lit.
Right.
So now they're definitely players who know of us. So now, like going forward, there's players playing Survivor Michigan now who are listening to us talk about players who played back then listening to us.
I don't even think my brain can handle that. That's insane.
Hopefully, the next quantum leap will be the leap home. So my next note is let's go, Lindsay. Because we talked a little bit about Emily at the start of this episode getting a little bit of a slow start. And Lindsay is somebody who also kind of felt like she got a slow start out of the gate. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But now she's like, I'm here to play. I'm here to go. And we see her meeting with people. We see her talking with people. We see her have this meeting with Ian that turns out to be really, really consequential. And I think Lindsay is a great example of someone who works herself into a good spot. I think she took this difference maker thing, and I think she kind of stumbled out of the gate with the idol clues. But then I think she really became the difference maker this week.
I know.
Because with that extra vote, she was the difference maker.
And it's so funny because before the episode ended, I was going to like, I made a mental note of being like, stop telling people about your advantages. But that ended up becoming a massive part of this vote.
Yeah.
Like knowing that she had 2. So it's like really interesting. I mean, obviously telling about your advantages is very, what's the word? Like, I don't know what I'm trying to say,
like
but
risky.
like,
it's like
it's
very
risky, right?
Way.
Yes. But like this ended up being one of those times where like it actually helped
I agree.
to tell people, and other people were able to use it to get their way, which we will talk about later.
I think if you're somebody like Cooper, don't tell people about your advantages. That was kind of the Cooper doctrine in All Stars that I think was correct for him.
Yeah.
But I think if you're somebody like in this Lindsay spot where you're not in the center of what's going on, right? Nobody is really coming to you going, Lindsay, we need your opinion here. Lindsay, please consult on this.
Right.
Anything you can do to make yourself important and to say like, no, you need me. I'm a part of this now. I think Lindsay like puts herself in, uses this extra vote, which traditionally is not a huge deal on Survivor.
Right.
They rarely get played correctly. They rarely matter much. She uses it to say, put me in, coach.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
So at one point, Abby is talking about her obsession with Ian. And she says, I'm just like Jeff Kent from Survivor Philippines. Obsessed with Penner. And I'm like, first of all, Abby, I love you. Please be my friend in real life.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, a Jeff Kent reference? Like
Jeff Kent reference.
Who in the world would reference Jeff Kent again besides Abby? Just in all caps, it just says obsessed. But then my next note is, wait, Abby, don't you remember what happens to Jeff Kent? I know. So there is this 3 of Abby, Stephanie, and Luke that I love. Same. Oh my God, I love them. Yeah. Because they are so bloodthirsty. They are some of the bloodthirstiest newbies we have ever seen on College Survivor. And they're so good. And they're ready to kill. Like, they're like hungry for a blindside, which is always like a good thing. But then also, like, if you're too hungry for it, it's not like you make mistakes. And that's what ends up happening. Yeah. But I love them. Same. They don't ever get a name, do they? No. I wish they had a name. There wasn't enough time. True. Because they got broken up. Time. Yeah. They thought they would have time, but no. I wish they had a name because I want to reference them and I want to talk about them. This is the kind of like, you know how like especially like
gay people are always like mother, icon, whatever. That's how I feel about these three. It's like always people who got voted out too early of a reality show that it's like Jody from Big Brother, like icon, mother. And then or like Reem. Like this is like Reem Jody territory for me, for Abby, where I'm like mother, icon.
Yeah.
Would die for her.
Same.
Like, and I feel that way about all three of these people. I love them. I wrote one of my notes is I love intense glasses Ian. We see glasses Ian here, and he's very intense, and he has given us the business in confessional.
Yeah.
At one point, something is a big brouhaha.
So funny.
I love it. My favorite moment of this episode, though, is Ian and Noah are having a disbelief off where they're sitting next to each other. And Ian is like, I just can't believe these people, they would do that. And Noah is next to him. And he like gets in front of him and like screws him. He's like, I just cannot believe that they would do that. And Ian goes to the front. He's like, why would they do that? I cannot believe. And they're just both in this disbelief off. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was so good.
Unedited footage of whatever that confessional was of the two of them just sitting next to each other. In no way listening to each other. In no way paying attention to what the other one is doing. Just it's all hands and it's all just outrage. I just cannot believe. How could they do that? What are they thinking? Are they crazy? It is magic.
Yeah.
It is magic. I love it. You know who else I love though? Is Thagus.
Yeah, we got more from him in this episode, which was good.
Got a little more from Thagus here. Just got a little bit more about his kind of philosophy on the game and the way he's playing. And his whole thing being like, okay, they're going to try and blindside Ian, but they didn't even call me.
Yeah.
They didn't hold me in grace. And Noah, speaking of being the Bailey's boyfriend ranking guys, Noah does this thing where even though he doesn't give half a damn about this Grace and the boys thing. He's with Thagus and Grace. And he's like, I mean, I just don't understand why Luke would want to break this up already. Like, what is he thinking? It is so good.
I know.
From Noah. Because he is just selling it. Even though he's already got this side deal with Grace. He's already got this side deal with Ian. He's already working all of these other angles. He does not care about this, but he uses it as leverage to say to Thagus, like, how could he do this? Like, man, what? It's so chaotic. It's so crazy. This is 10 out of 10 play from Noah.
Yeah. That was a great
and this
moment.
Is when I say some people are just built for this, we just see more and more from Noah that convinces me that he is built for this. Oh my gosh. And so we go to tribal council.
Oh my goodness.
And
well, let's back up for 1 second.
Yes.
Speaking of disbelief, I thought the move of the three, the unnamed alliance that never got a name. Okay, so like they're trying to target Ian, and then they change it to wanting to target Noah, but then they call Ian. That was the big. I think that was the big mistake. Like,
and they never really had the votes to do it ever. Like, I guess not. I guess if they thought if they thought Emily was just going to vote however they told her to vote,
right?
And then they thought they could pull in Lindsay with the double vote, then they would have 6. It would be 6-4,
right?
But like, why do you want to do a 6-4 vote at this point?
I don't know.
Like, why are you leaving Grace and Thagus out of all these plans?
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, it's just not good.
I know. They definitely could have. We love to see the bloodthirsty new players, but I feel like this was a little bit. It was a little bit messy. I think if they would have like approached it a little bit differently, like it could have maybe worked out. But it was a little bit like especially with, and again, if you're trying to look at the connections of like the Noah Ian production thing, like maybe they've done a good job of like hiding their relationship or whatever, but don't try to loop in the other production person on your tribe to take out the other production person.
And the other person you were just trying to vote out 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that was just an odd choice.
I do think there may be something to being in the Keep Your Torch Lit era of Survivor Michigan, where people have watched the show now. Like these guys have seen the show now. Like they've seen really cool looking blind sides. They've seen It's Liz. They've seen the Keep Your Torch Lit 3 become a thing. They've seen Sam, Jack, and Sarah happen. Are they kind of trying to do that? Like, are they trying to kind of be this new Keep Your Torch Lit 3, this new like power group that, because it's so cool, right? You see it and you're like, and even it happens like when you watch live games and stuff, and the live games you play, in the back of your head, you're like, this is going to look really cool on TV, or this is going to look really awesome on the stream if I do something cool and say something cool here, right? I wonder if that's part of what plays into this, of like, if we can collect the biggest trophy on our tribe, if we can vote out the biggest guy on our tribe, like, we will be icons.
Yeah, that definitely could be. Yeah,
they end up being icons anyway, but not for the right reasons.
Right.
We get to tribal council.
My gosh.
And the first thing that happens is they're talking about this challenge. And I'm like, yeah, in the first challenge, like, Jay was like kind of like the guy. It's like, you can't really blame anybody in particular for this challenge. And Ian, for reasons I don't really know what he's thinking here, he goes, yeah, you can. I blame Jack. He's super tall and he lost every round. Luke, thank you. He's like, I blame Luke. Luke's super tall and he lost every round. And I am like, at that point, I've referenced it before, I am the Mr. Krabs memes, where he is like, I'm like, Ian, what? But I think it's right. Like, I think it's the right move for Ian to, like, really go after these guys at Tribal and really be like, these are our enemies. Like, these are our opponents. We're the good guys, they're the bad guys kind of thing. And he does. Yeah. And then at one point, I think it's Grace also gets involved. She's like, yeah, Luke could have done better. And Abby is just like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we blaming Luke?
Yeah.
And it just descends into this hilarious chaos that I'm loving. Also, I'm finding out that Ian does mock trial is great. Yeah. I was a forensics and debate guy. So there's like three kind of cousins. There's like forensics and debate, mock trial, and model UN.
Okay.
So like anytime I see somebody who's a part of one of those clubs, I'm like, oh, okay, like relatable. And then when her name came up, I just, in all caps, I'm gonna let you go because I know you have thoughts.
Well, I felt like, at least to me, the blame of the unnamed three that never got their alliance name was put on Luke. So yes. I actually thought potentially that it would be like a him versus Noah vote. Mm-hmm. When I saw Abby's name, I was like, okay, interesting. And then it, like, I don't know, I think it got did it end up being 6-4?
I think it ended up being 6-4, and I'm trying to remember who. I think it might have been Emily was that fourth Noah vote.
Gotcha. Okay, because it was like 3 Noah, then or whatever. It's interesting because it's one of those situations where it's like you don't want either of them to go.
No, you can't lose either of these.
So I think at first my brain was like, "Shit, we're losing a really good person here." And I even said, and I think I even seeing an Abby vote or two, I was like, oh no, like we're not gonna get to ever have a podcast that's the Bailey boyfriend ranking guys because Noah's about to go here. And then freaking Abby, I threw my notes, which were basically empty because the only note I had was about the stupid challenge. And I texted Paul in all caps. I can't say the whole thing probably on air or we'll get censored, but I was livid. I don't think I've ever had that strong of a reaction of a second boot in, I don't know, years. Like it was devastating. Like I was ready to have Abby 100% on my power rankings this week, and to have that taken away, Ian, I was fuming. fuming.
Yeah, Abby would have been number one, I think, on the
Yeah.
Soccer Tribe this week in the
Same.
power rankings, guys. And I also want to throw. I'm going to throw you under the bus.
That's fine.
I am not the only person Joe texted about how upset he was. I also want to throw that out there. So we're in a group chat with Sam and Ian. That we talk about all-star stuff, and we kind of get answers to some of the power rankings guys' questions. That's where some of them would come from. And so Joe just said, "I am very upset with one of you, and I'm going to podcast about it tonight." And then I was like, "I hope it's not me, LMFAO." And then Ian was like, "It's probably me." And Joe
and then
did
I
not
said
respond.
nothing.
And that is the last text that is in that text message, is still currently, is just Ian being like, "It's probably me." I was dying laughing, and I was like, "I'm not gonna ruin this." I was like, "I'm not sending anything back."
He has to sit through 1 hour and 13 minutes and 16 seconds of the podcast to find out what I was talking about.
Yeah. So this, I was like, "Oh my God, this is an incredible blindside."
Oh, huge.
It's wild, so good. And then when she stands up to get her torch lit and Ian says, "Tell Megan I said hi." This is the moment, genuinely, when I threw my notes across the room. Because I was like, this might be one of the greatest moments I've ever seen on Survivor Michigan. And we're 2 episodes in. I was like, that for me is on the Mount Rushmore of Survivor Michigan quotes. "Tell Megan I said hi" will live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life. The rest of my life. Every time, like literally, the next time I go out to play a live game, every time somebody gets voted out, in my head, I'm going to be thinking, "Tell Megan I said hi." Like, I might not say it out loud, but just know, if you're ever watching me play a game on stream, in my head, I'm thinking, "Tell Megan I said hi" for the rest of my life.
That was like, damn.
It's
the villain is here.
The villain is here. I have nothing. It's so funny because your response was pure outrage, and mine is like, I think I love this man. Like, I was like, I think I genuinely think the next time somebody asks me who my favorite Survivor player is, I'm just gonna say Ian. Like,
wow.
I mean, I'm not, but tell Megan I said hi.
Do you think we'll ever get a backstory of this whole situation?
I mean, it depends on are we gonna scroll more than 4 scrolls back on Ian's Facebook and try and figure out what was going. I mean, do we need to know?
Honestly, yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes. We need to know.
We do.
It's not negotiable, and it's probably something like totally innocuous and docile.
Right,
like they just knew of each other at one point, and it was totally like nothing.
Well, I think Abby said, didn't he like live with her sister at some point, or
maybe I don't exactly
they were
remember
roommates
what
or something.
Said. I don't know.
Wow.
But
yeah, that needs to be on a T-shirt or something.
Oh yeah, we need matching "Tell Megan I said hi" T-shirts.
We need to get merch. We need merch. We should talk about that.
We will talk about that. Yeah, because now we have a couple solid ideas.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, it's so good, and I know that now we're just beating a dead horse, and I don't care, because sometimes when something is that good, you just have to let it linger and just let it be there. And "Tell Megan I said hi" is the moment of the season so far. It's great.
It was bone chilling.
Bone chilling. It's so good. I want it engraved on something. We are the Power Rankings guys, and we are here to do 2 things, and that's fanboy and power rank. We've already done the first thing.
Yeah.
So now it's time to power rank. We're gonna do. I think we said we're gonna do a top 3 from each tribe.
Yes.
Kind of the old school, the throwback power rankings, guys. So do you want to start with Sokka or Obsidian?
Let's do Sokka first.
Okay.
Now, are we doing like a 3-2-1, or are we just doing like who our top 3 are so far?
I'm doing like a 1-2-3.
1-2-3.
So I'm doing like who my number 1 person, then my number 2 person, then my number 3 person is.
Okay.
Okay. So my number 1 on Sokka is Noah.
Oh, interesting.
I can't believe I'm saying this because it seems like such like we're the Bailey ranking guys and now we're the Bailey's boyfriend ranking guys.
Yeah.
To me, he has demonstrated so much skill, both
Mm-hmm.
natural and acquired at this point, that I'm looking at Noah going, he is in a great spot.
Yeah.
And normally I never rank somebody this high if they got votes at tribal council, because usually that's always a mark on you or whatever. But I think the way this went could not have gone better for him. They've got a team together.
Mm-hmm.
He still has this Grace, Stages, and Ian thing. He's got this thing with Emily. He's got this thing with Lindsay. And he has these two people who are definitely on the outs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this great moment at the end of Tribal Council. And I'm so in on the Noah game where he, like, the votes come out and he is like, each one of the people in his group, he's like got him by the shoulder. He's like, yes, we did it. Like, yeah, we did it. And that kind of stuff is so potent on Survivor. When you put together a group, you don't really have a test of that group until you go to Tribal, right?
Right.
And when you go to Tribal and you win the Tribal, like it was your group versus the other group, and your group wins, you are like, that is such super glue for that group.
Yeah.
And for Noah to be like, yeah, guys, we did it. Like, yeah, like I'm the captain of the team. I'm the I'm the quarterback here. Like, he's very, very good. And then at one point, Jack even like grabs him by the shoulder. Like, Luke, why do I keep doing this? Luke grabs him by the shoulder and is like, yeah, like, man, like, that's good. Like, he's almost kind of sarcastic.
I know. I was like,
just kind of like laughs
Luke.
it off and shakes it off. I had to put him number one because I just feel like he is doing so much good here that even though obviously he's got a big target on his back, obviously it's scary, that to me is number one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you're number one on Sokka.
So I didn't rank them with numbers at first, but I just threw numbers down right before we started. But I put Ian. Like,
after all this.
I know, and I said that in the beginning. Like, you're going to be surprised by some of my comments at the end. But obviously, I love Ian. I'm sort of kidding, but I think it is just sort of. I will text him after we submit this, so he knows, or maybe I won't. Maybe he'll just listen to the pod. He'll have to wait.
I mean, it's not. He always listens to the podcast,
I know,
so it's not like good blackmail.
Right.
There anyway.
But no, I think like, and we didn't touch on this. Maybe we did in the first episode. There was like a really quick confessional by maybe Abby or someone where like there was they were also plotting Ian's demise in episode 1. It was kind of like glossed over. Someone threw it out in a confessional and then it like never came to fruition. So I feel like having so much heat on him in 2 episodes and getting out of it. B, sort of like emerging as the villain that I wouldn't have predicted that. I think has just been an interesting like character development of his. And then C, his part that he had to play in this blindside, even though he took out Abby, I felt like was just such a strong move. They utilized the 2 girls that were kind of on the outs. They utilized Lindsay having the 2 votes. Like, and I feel like, so he is number 1. Maybe this is the last time I ever put him there, but that's why I threw a 1 next to his name 5 minutes ago.
I will say, Ian does not make my rankings this week.
Wow.
It seems like we Freaky Friday body swap.
Oh my goodness.
I think Ian is really good.
Yeah.
I think he's had to play on his back foot so far for the first 2 episodes, so I don't think we have seen fully what he can do.
Yeah.
What I want from Ian is, who are Ian's people? If it's Noah, I want it to be Noah. If it's going to be this Lindsay thing, I want it to be Lindsay. Lone Wolf Ian is not going to work.
Right.
Like, it's not like, because Ian is good and he's smart and he knows more about Survivor Michigan than anyone in the whole world. All of these things are true. But these are not things that are going to get you to the end.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to see a coalition form around Ian, and then he's going to make the list next week.
Gotcha. Okay. I like that.
Alrighty. In my number 2 spot, I have Grace.
Okay, I had her as number 3.
Okay, excellent. I always like this thing where the female survivor player gets behind like the outwardly like leader quarterback guy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's clearly also thinking her own thoughts and doing her own thing.
Yeah.
And Grace is there.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's in that spot, I think, super duper well. And ironically, there is almost something Bailey-esque about it. Um, but except like Noah is not Kevin. Noah is playing a much better game
Right.
than Kevin is.
Yeah.
But there also is something to being this kind of number 2 person
Mm-hmm.
that is very much the season 2 Bailey game
Yeah.
that I think was good then,
Mm-hmm.
because and let me rephrase that. I think it's a good game if you're not doing it with Kevin. I think it's a better
That's
game
fair.
if you have it behind somebody like Noah. So I'm very high on Grace. I think she has shown a lot of prowess so far. I think she's
Mm-hmm.
in the right rooms when she needs to be. She is the catalyst for this Grace, Noah, Thages, Luke, and Ian thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of the Grace's thing.
Right.
I'm very high on Grace.
Yeah, she was like easy to put in my top 3. Literally ditto everything you say. I think she's in a really great spot. She has a lot of good like shields around her, but she's playing a good game. She's setting herself up well. I don't foresee her like becoming a target anytime soon. Like there's so much going on now in this tribe. They brought in people that were on the outs. There's new people that are now on the outs. Like she has enough room to maneuver where I feel like she'll go far from what
Agreed.
we've seen.
And who was your number 2?
It was Noah.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah. So we were. Oh wait. So who's
Yes.
your number 3?
So I was really torn because there was
Okay.
part of me that really wanted to give this to Thages because I really like him and
Mhm.
he really might be in the best spot on this tribe.
Yeah.
Very in the middle, good in challenges, good socially, good everything. But I wanted to reward Lindsay.
Oh, nice. I like that.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of a most improved player award for her.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because I think she was somebody who was really kind of a non-factor in the first episode and fully acknowledged that she was a non-factor in the first episode and turned it around to the point where she was the difference maker in episode 2, where what she did made the difference in who went home. Whoever she voted for was gonna go home.
Yeah.
I love this for her.
Mm-hmm.
I love this for Lindsay. I think she is somebody. She's giving me a little bit of Aaron. I think like a little bit of season 3 Aaron.
Yeah.
I like her. I think her trajectory is pointing upwards, and so for that reason, I want to make sure she made the power rankings this week because I always like to reward people who are climbing.
Yeah.
And hope that maybe it gives them some kind of like retrospect, good karma, good vibes into the universe that like she can feel from 3 years ago and like really motivate her.
Yeah, love that.
So we're moving on to Obsidian.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you go first with your number 1.
Oh, I didn't. Let me throw down some numbers real
sorry.
quick. Sorry. No, it's not your fault. I didn't do that. Oh, I'm so torn. Oh, geez. Okay. I will say it was a lot harder for this tribe. Yeah. And also we've not seen them go to tribal yet. And I think
which always makes it so hard.
Yes. Yeah. So luckily next week we'll at least get to see that.
Yes.
Or this week, right?
Yeah.
No, episode
week
2
3.
just came out. Next
episode
week. Sorry.
So sorry. Yes.
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
This is so fun.
Okay, I did circle 4 names, so I'm just gonna pick 3 of these people.
That's valid.
No, actually I'm gonna change.
I think there were 4 names that I think were good in the mix here. I narrowed it down to 3.
Okay. I did leave one person out.
Valid. You always have to.
But I could say the reason why. Anyway, we'll get to it. Okay.
You're number 1.
So I just put it next to Katie.
Yeah. I have Katie in the number 2 spot.
Okay.
But it was very, very close because man, is she doing good here.
Yeah. I think she is a great player. Like she set herself up well. She's being super social. Like we said before, like I think she's handling the production aspect of it like perfectly. She sort of has this like secret-ish closer relationship with George than people know. So we like that.
Yes.
And we just love Katie overall in general. So I want her to like stick with what she's doing, and I feel like she'll do really well. So I put her as number 1.
Yeah, she is my number 2 for a lot of those same reasons. She's so good. We see her doing so much good stuff here. We see her doing the relationship building stuff that we need people to do early on to be successful later in the game. She's building all those foundations, all those building blocks. In addition, I like that she's not pushing hard at this stage.
Right.
I think there is something to say for like the playing the long game and really understanding that Survivor Michigan is a 100-day game. And I think she's using that to her advantage. My only concern is I think Katie needs for there to not be a swap for a while. I think Katie's on this like little happy family of Obsidian, and she's either the mom or the older sister, depending on the day. She's code switching, mom, older sister, whatever she needs to be. I feel like the chaos of Sokka and all of the craziness that goes on here, I feel like is not a good spot for Katie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
As long as we stay here on Obsidian, Katie is in a great spot. So that brings me to my number 1. I'm going to say something I have said on the podcast several times, Joe. My number 1 is Jack.
Wow. Okay. I like it.
I really, really like what Jack is doing. I really like that Jack is in the mix all the time. Jack is the guy who knows about this George and Katie thing.
Yeah.
He got to meet Leia. He's in the car with them and Lindsay, so he has this idol clue. He's doing good in challenges. He's this person everybody seems to like. Everybody seems to get along with. He's got this 2-hour meeting with Taylor where she buys him whatever, and it goes really well. I just think there's so much good Jack here that doesn't come along with the production baggage.
Yeah.
That I think Jack is just in a fantastic, fantastic spot already.
I agree.
Yeah. So my number 2 is Katie. Your number 2
was Jack.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So, and now this number 3 spot is where things really get tricky.
Yeah. So I initially wrote down 7 names.
Sure.
So I just picked 3 like 2 minutes ago.
Yes.
But I landed on. Wait, we covered 1 and 2, right?
We covered 1 and 2. You had Katie and Jack. I had Jack and Katie.
Perfect. I mean, we can't go at Power Rankings, guys, without a Jack in the mix, right?
I totally agree.
I put my number 3 next to Taylor.
So did I.
Wow, look at that. And I think also it's on. I don't want to say like recency bias. I know that's like a weird thing, but like she did have a really strong episode 2. So I was just like, okay, like this is good. Like we're seeing more from her. She, like you said before, like earlier, like she's meeting up with people. She's like, you can tell she's like genuine and wants to play the game. So I feel like she just had a strong episode, and I think it's going to set her up well for when they eventually go to Tribal in the next episode. Yeah, I really like her. Like I get good vibes. Like she would be somebody that I would want to work with. Sometimes that kind of bleeds into our power rankings. So
yeah, it always does.
Yeah, I really wanted to put George just because like when
this is kind of a
this
George
is the
snub.
first time
we really are kind of snubbing him,
I know, but I'm like, I'm hopefully like he'll be around for a couple episodes for us to do that. And like we never probably would have expected to be able to even put him on a power rankings, but
it's true.
I did want to kind of throw some like newer players on there too.
Yes.
So I'm sure we'll get to George at another time.
I'm sure he will have good episodes in the future, but this is again the same thing I said about Lindsay. If I like to reward players who have good episodes and who have like that upshot of like their climbing. Whereas I do think George is in a good spot. I don't think George is going to have this Ian and Noah thing happen to him at all. Like I think he really is well liked by these Obsidian people. I think he's in with Justin, who is somebody else who could have made this power rankings.
Yeah, he was
like
one of
what
my.
Justin is up to.
Yeah, one of my 7.
But I love that Taylor is putting in the work, and I love that it's not just like a hey, whatever, that it's, they're like, we met for 2 hours. And then you're shooting the next person, like, yeah, we met for 2 hours. And you're like, clearly she's putting in time. She's putting in effort. She's putting in care.
Right.
And again, it is that Mallory reference that we always go back to when we see players do this, where it's like maybe they're not like the biggest survivor person in the world, but there's somebody who clearly has the ability to forge these genuine connections, get people to like them. And on a 10-person tribe early, all you need to do is make sure nobody's throwing out your name.
Right.
And this kind of, or if somebody does throw out your name, that it gets shut down. And that's what these things do that Taylor is doing, is she's preventing there being any steam from getting behind her name.
Right.
So she's going to be good for a while. And,
Yeah.
you know, these players who start out and then get better are always the most dangerous. And I feel like if you're somebody who has the social bonds and the ability to get better strategically, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And I love the way she spells her name.
I know.
It's so good to me.
Yeah.
Taylr is so good. If it gets, if she keeps doing well, we're just going to keep eliminating vowels from our name week on week until we're just all consonants.
Well, then I become J. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, it's a good thing, because I love Miss J forever. We never got enough time to become the J ranking guys, but
yeah.
All I have to do is, I love to say though, is if it fits, it ships. If it fits, it ships, Joe.
Yep.
This has been really fun.
Yeah, that was
Survivor Michigan is back, baby.
Yeah, it's been such a great start to the season. A lot of great people to root for. If we're struggling already to have like top threes in both tribes, like, it's good.
It's a really, really good sign. That the 4 people, or the 3 people we knew coming in, and then Noah, are doing great things and making big splashes. But there's also all of these other people who we love talking about, who are doing great things. That it's very much like, I have no idea where this is going.
No.
Like, no idea what's happening here. Very... I do think there are season 2 comparisons to be made, which is a big compliment, because I love Michigan too. That I think that there is a little bit of that going on here, but who knows? And who's to say? Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Both to Survivor Michigan and to the Power Rankings guys.
Right.
We'll see who we turn on next week, and who Joe sends an angry text off to before the Power Rankings guys starts. Could be anybody.
Really,
you never
could
know.
Be. Yeah.
As always, I'm Paul. Been here with Joe. We're the Power Rankings guys. Thank you guys so much for listening and being with us. As always, we love you, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Tell Megan we say hi.
Tell Megan we said hi.